Good morning. Can you hear me there on the other side? Let's get a few thumbs up if you can hear me. Good morning, Willie, Renier, Janas. Goeiemorgen. There the thumbs come now. Good morning, goeiemorgen. To the Cape Townians away. Mamasbury people, goeiemorgen oom. Guys and girls, my name is Viljoen. I'm all the way here from Welcome Bay in Tauranga, New Zealand, the North Island. As I said before, there's two islands here. I'm a financial advisor here in New Zealand. Been doing this for the past year and a half about. And I'm not allowed to give any financial advice, sorry about that. But sorry, immigration advice. I'm allowed to give financial advice, not immigration advice. It's because I'm trying to read what you guys have written to me. I'm not allowed to give any financial advice, but immigration advice, but I'm going to give you some financial advice this morning as well. A few questions that came up over the week that people asked me to talk about, and as well as the other morning that I asked you what you want to talk about today. People asked about the difference between government medical and the private medical side. First of all, we've got to see who's eligible for the private or for government medical. Anybody who is a New Zealand citizen or a permanent resident, that is, if you've got South African citizenship still and have got New Zealand resident, or a work visa holder who is eligible to be here for 2 years or more. So if you've got a work visa and it's longer for 2 years or longer, then you are eligible for the government medicals. If you are under 17 and your parents or guardians is eligible, then you are eligible as well. So this comes back to the fact that if your work visa is longer than 2 years, you may have government medical, and government medical is very good. Let's be quite frank. I had a psychologist here with me about 2 weeks ago, and he had the chance to tour the local hospital, and his thoughts on the local hospital was that it's very much like a Mediclinic in South Africa. So Mediclinic is a private hospital there with you guys, and you must know all about that, and that is the state of government hospitals here. My wife has been into hospital the other day for a quick checkup there, and I could really promise you the service was beyond fantastic, quick, and there was this amount of money to be paid. Nothing, not 1 cent. Yes, I am a New Zealand resident, but I'm not a citizen yet, so I do qualify to get this government medical. Now let's talk about private medical or health cover. This is where you go, first of all, you go to government medical. So all your emergencies, car accidents, heart attacks, stroke, stuff that you are rushed into hospital will be taken care of by government, point one. Thereafter, should you have to do something like hip replacements, tonsils, these type of things that's not an emergency procedure, you will be going on a waiting list with government. Now these waiting lists could be very long, because everybody who's iller than you or has got a higher emergency class than you, let's say you must get your tonsils removed. Now the guy with a heart attack is coming in front of you the whole time. If there's a car accident, they will come in front of you the whole time. You'll be shifted back, and as you progress nearer to your point, if there's another emergency, they will come in front of you. So you could be sitting in hospital waiting and be postponed for another week and told to take the stuff and go. On this note, this is where your private health comes in. Private health puts you in front of the queue. It's as easy as that. Private health doesn't cover the major stuff like your heart attacks and so on. That's all still done under government. But private health comes in, or your hip replacements, all this type of stuff that's sore, but you don't need it immediately. Okay. I hope that makes sense. There's also a lot of other stuff that private health covers, like Pharmac. Pharmac is the medicine where you get your medicine here in New Zealand. And a lot of this stuff is an older type of medicines. If there's new medicines out, you probably won't be on the Pharmac list yet. And that's where private health will come in, and they will allow you to go and get that new medicines out. That probably can give you a better cure than what the older medicines could do. even for stuff where you need to have an operation out of New Zealand. That is where your private health will come in, and they will allow you to go outside of New Zealand to get that operation. They'll probably contribute to 75% of the cost that it would have been charged for in New Zealand. Also with cancer, although cancer is very good covered by government, you also are on a bit of a waiting list or in a queue to go and do some stuff. So with private health, you get immediate attention to that. So Carla de Klerk asked, do they cover dentistry and eyes? The short answer there is no. Kids do have some dentistry, but not a lot. For dentistry, which is quite expensive here, a lot of people even fly out to Thailand, go to have a whole vacation there and then do their teeth outside. Eyes, I had some glasses made for me the other day. 2 of these glasses from Specsavers cost me $440, was plus extra eye test and stuff like that. So that's quick the difference between government medical and private medical, or private health as I call it. The biggest reason here or difference here is the fact that private health puts you in front of the queue. While for everything else, government medical is not too bad, but you could be waiting for a while. I've heard about somebody in Auckland that had tonsillitis or tonsils, had the tonsils to be removed, and they waited 13 months. Hip replacements can take up to a year as well, so keep that in mind. Yeah, you could probably scrape by on government medical if you are here just now and need to put a bit of savings aside, but as soon as you are ready, get your private health, and that's not that expensive. It costs about $80 per adult, and the kids about $30 in that region. Okay, then another question that came in was, let me see where the time runs. What homework must be done to get the process ready, and what does it mean to be document ready? Now, this process really would mean what homework must be done before you immigrate. I think the biggest thing before immigration is to find out, do you really want to come to New Zealand? That is so important. A lot of people arrive here and they feel that it's not really the country for them. I'm going to explain a few other things to you now as well. Some people arrive here and I've never been here before. They stick out for 3 or 4 months and then go back home and tell everybody how bad New Zealand is. It's just the other way around. They should rather say how bad our planning was for New Zealand. A lot of people come here without knowing what to expect at all. I came here for LSD 2 years before I came officially to New Zealand, and I think what I saw on the LSD just made me more persistent to come to New Zealand. I saw how good it was, while other people come here not knowing what to expect at all. And at current, we're seeing that New Zealand immigration is not taking the amount of residents that they have in the past, so they're busy stretching that out a bit. I see what is happening is that they are trying to lower the amount of immigrants coming into New Zealand. On the other upside is, if you can't get into New Zealand, don't give up. Australia is still taking people by the amount of about 200,000 per year, and then Canada, I know it's like going to Wellington. Sorry, Wellingtonians. But Canada is taking about 300,000 people per year, so keep that in mind. If you can't get to New Zealand, go somewhere else if you feel you need to leave the country. Alright, and a quick thing here, the documents that you need to get ready. Point 1, go to Home Affairs. That's normally the thing that takes the longest. You need to get your unabridged birth certificates, your unabridged marriage certificates, if you can get them, for you, the wife, the husband, the kids, for everybody. Get that done. Then on the other side, police clearance, that takes about, I see it's about now 2 months, but that's only valid for 6 months. So I would reckon that will be one of the last documents to get. Make sure you are clear with the police before you get that document. If you have any criminal activities against your name, you can wait for a period of 10 years after the crime, and then you can have it possibly removed. That also takes about 4 to 6 months to have that done, and thereafter you will have a clear police clearance certificate. It's quite important to get all that type of stuff ready. It's a lot of explaining to do if you do not have that ready. Then on the other side, other documents you need to get ready: your passports, while you are at Home Affairs, get your passports ready. If you need passports in New Zealand, the problem is it will take you up to a year or longer to get a passport done from here. You've got to fly all the way to Wellington, go and sit there at the embassy, do your fingerprints and stuff there. They apply for your passports back to South Africa, and about a year later it's only here. Other documents I can think of. We are working, get all that type of reference letters. Get the reference letters, but let them put the reference letters, not just a normal thing saying blah 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 Mr. X worked for us, like they normally do. Got to put it out there what you did there, especially if that is for the type of job that you're applying this side. Go and look at the job this side and see what do they need from you, what do they say you must be able to do. That reference letter must have all of that in. It's just to get that clearer, but at the end of the day, Immigration New Zealand takes that reference letters to see can you really do the job or not. And then the other thing you've got to do at the end of the day is to join or to write the English test. I haven't written the English test yet myself, so I can't tell you what it's all about. I was lucky 2 weeks after we've applied for residency, they said everybody must write English tests. From there onwards, and I don't want stories there that you can see I can't talk English, so please keep that in mind. Okay, guys, that is a document ready. There's a lot of other documents that you can get. If you've got, I see guys got red seals for different mechanical stuff and so on. You will also need that. There's some degrees that need to be assessed here. There's other degrees that don't need to be assessed here, so just keep in mind which one need to be assessed. That also takes about, I think, about 3 months, and it costs about $700 or something like that. So that also need to be done before you apply. Otherwise, that will keep your process back. Then I have been asked, what is the weather like? Weather here, it's not that bad. This morning we had our coldest morning. I think it was Monday morning. We had 4 degrees. It was really chilly, but now it's very much like Cape Town. I'm living at 11 degrees about that outside. And then they ask current clothing needed. This comes from a woman, I got to say that. She asked what current clothing do they need to arrive in New Zealand, and will the South African jackets help? I've got jackets in my cupboard that from South Africa still hanging there that I haven't used in a year and a half, so I'm actually thinking of giving that to the op shops. I'll explain to you what an op shop is now. Then they ask where to buy good jackets. We just bought good jackets that came out the other day. I actually bought these waterproof snow jackets because one of these days we're going to go and play in the snow a bit. Kmart is one of the places that sell jackets or clothing that is cheap. Let's talk cheap clothing. The Warehouse, Macpac, Kathmandu, Farmers, and then op shops. Op shops is shops where people bring in their old clothing or their old stuff from the house. They donate it and then the charity will sell it. Op shops you get all over New Zealand. Around the corner from me there's an op shop. If you go to the main road in Tauranga, I think there's about 5 or 6 op shops. All of them sell different stuff or different clothing, and you can really go in there and look around and buy something if you are on a budget, or if you are somebody that wears second-hand clothing. Some of these clothes are actually in good nick, but some of them has also got a few holes and scratches in that I won't even think of putting on my body. And then if you are into second-hand underwear, I see they sell tons of them, so I don't know who wants to wear second-hand underwear, but okay, all the op shops sell them. Even stuff like, I would say, tables and bedding, that type of stuff. It's normally where this is, when people have too many of this, they just give it away and it goes to the op shop and so on. Carla Leclerc asked, please put those shop names on the comments afterwards. Carla, I'll do that for you. Does anybody know how long medicals take to be completed on the New Zealand side while waiting in SA? Brent, this is a difficult one. The medicals, as soon as you do them in South Africa, they go on the system. I've seen with my medicals, it took about 2 days for them to be placed on the system, and then it immediately comes through to Immigration New Zealand. That all depends on how quick and who your immigration agent is this side, and that person will have a look at those medicals and decide what to do further with it. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with medicals. So just keep that in mind. Let's go to the next question. Okay, I'll do that question later. Is there any other questions you guys need to ask me? Adele says, you mentioned dentistry is very expensive. Is there additional dentistry insurance that you can take out? There is dentistry insurance with all your health covers. You can go for dentistry insurance as well, or let me go back to the health cover side. Health cover is just basic health cover, and that takes you through to being number one in the queue, plus a bit of pharmac and a lot of help with stuff like your cancer and that type of treatments. But on the other side, you can go for specialists as well on that. That's just an added on, and it costs a few dollars more. Now, the specialist side is when you go to, let's say for instance, a cardiologist. I've been to one the other day. That cost me $450, and I had to pay in the first $250 was from my side, and then my medical or health cover then paid in the extra $200, which they forgot to do. I won't name them here, but yeah. Then you can also get the dentistry side, which is quite expensive, and if you really add that up over a year's period, you can just as well save that and put that somewhere else in case you need it. I know some of the dentists allow you to pay off over a period of time. Vinathan Governor asked, Jan, what is family sponsorship? The only family sponsorship I can think of is where you sponsor somebody that comes to you on a visitor's visa, and you give them a letter to say they're basically your responsibility and so on, blah blah blah, and that helps them not to have that large amount of money in their banks when they come over. I see Renew says his medicals took 2 days. Must you pay New Zealand tax and South African tax? Tracy O'Neill, if you are in South Africa, you pay South African tax. If you are in New Zealand, you pay New Zealand tax. I know South Africa has this new thing that they want to charge all our guys that's outside of South Africa, but there's certain rules and regulations there. If you read that correctly, it means where's your place of permanent residence? Where do you really live? So if you live in South Africa but you work, let's say in Saudi Arabia, and whenever you have a holiday or your time off, you need to come back to South Africa, then you are a South African resident for that purposes. If you live in New Zealand for permanently and go back to South Africa just on holidays, and it's less than a certain amount of days, I think it's 91 days per year or something like that, it's quite a long period, then you are deemed to be non-residing in South Africa, and you don't need to pay that tax. That tax only comes in once you earn more than 100 or 1 million rand in South African money. So let's keep that in mind, small thing, depending on where you work and where you permanently live. So if you come to live permanently in New Zealand, that won't be a problem. To get your money out of South Africa, your retirement annuities, you will still have to do a financial immigration there. How does chronic meds work? Covered by government. Carla, I do get chronic meds, cholesterol tabs and that. I go into the doctor and he will give me a prescription, and the chemist will give me a 3-month upfront. So for 3 months they give me pills. I pay $5 per pill on the prescription. So if there's 3 pills on that prescription, I will pay 5 times 3, $15. That's the amount of money that it costs me, and that'll be for 3 months. After 3 months, I just contact the doctor. It's quite interesting. Our doctor's just got an answering service. You press, let's say, number 5, and you tell the nurse what your name is, where you live, what your date of birth is, and they will issue you a new prescription for another 3 months. Then in about 2 days' time, you go into the doctor, you get your new prescription, take that to the chemist, pay you another $5 per pill on that, and they have enough pills for another 3 months. So that will cover you for 6 months. Every 6 months you need to go back into the doctor. Currently that costs us about $45 per time we visit the doctor. Should the doctor deem it needed to be any other examinations to be done, like for instance bloods or anything like that, they'll just give you a small slip for path lab, and you go to path lab whenever it's the right time for you, or if you need to be fasting, you wait until the next day. You go to path lab, walk in there, take your blood quick, and you have your results within about 2 days. The doctor will then not contact you if the result is 100% correct, but they will immediately contact you either by SMS or by calling you stating, come in, we have something on the blood, so we see something's wrong with you, and so on. And then go back to the doctor, pay another $45, see him or her, and then they will give you whatever you need more. I use homeopathic medicine. It is obviously not covered by the medicals. No homeopathic meds is not covered by meds or by government, and so is chiropractors as well, not covered. They are for your own pocket. I saw somebody asked about ACC. Let me quickly explain to you what ACC is. Sorry, I can't see that question right here, so I don't know what exact question was. I just remember I saw somewhere a question about ACC. ACC is accident cover. That is when you are anywhere in New Zealand, either on a holiday, so as a tourist, or as living and working here, and you have an accident. That is, you fall off your scaffold, you're in a car accident, you slip there next to the barbecue, you fall over, and you break or injure yourself. Then ACC will step in and they will pay you 80% of your salary for the period of time that you are off work. So that's where normal insurance won't cover you, or insurance will only cover then 20% of whatever ACC is not paying if you've got something like income protector and so on. But it's only for accidents, so purely for accidents. If you're out of a heart attack and you can't work for 3 months, ACC is not going to pay you. If you have a car accident and you can't work for 3 months, ACC will pay you. ACC has got certain ways and means to try and get you back to work as well. They'll give you certain help regarding that. They'll also pay for your the people that line your spines. Sorry, I can't get to their name now this morning. But yeah, that's the type of people that ACC will pay for. So ACC will take care of all of that, like chiropractors, physiotherapists. That's the name I couldn't get to. Okay, so do you pay for the blood test asked by doctor? No, you don't pay. I haven't paid anything for any blood test ever in New Zealand. So do you have any idea how much a chiro session costs? No, I haven't got any idea on that. Is it true that some areas require a fire permit if you braai in your yard? Depending on how big the fire is. If you have a big fire, the fire brigade will arrive there, independent of what time of the year it is. But on the other hand, you are allowed to braai. They call it cultural cooking. Okay, and cultural cooking is not only done by the South Africans. The Maoris also have cultural cookings where they make a fire in a hole and then put hot stones in there and then chuck the food on top of that in baskets, and it's called hangi, and that is left like that. It's covered over, and normally put something over that and put dirt on top of that, and then after a few hours they open this whole hangi pit, and then they bring out their food, and that's being steamed like that. It's quite bland about. I have eaten hangi in the past. They do a thing like vet cook. I don't know if you guys, English people, know vet cook. They call it your fried bread. So that's probably the only thing I actually liked of hangi. The rest was a bit bland food made in a pit called cultural cooking. Very much like our barbecues. Some nights if I start the barbecue and all the old fat is burning off, it also looks like my house is burning down, but that's just one of those things. Never had a complaint, never had to have a permit for that, but there's some areas there is bans on fires. You will see the big ban and they put it up. They're not lazy to put bans up. Everywhere they will put a big red thing up saying no fire permitted at all time. And keep in mind, in New Zealand there's areas that's got liquor bans as well. So make sure before you take your dog down to the beach, make sure if you are allowed to have a dog there, and if not, don't cross that line. They're very strict on that. They don't really like people to cross lines like that, especially where alcohol is in the mix. On the upside on that, normally where they have a fire or a liquor ban area, they will have a different area where there's not a liquor ban. Monique Sturley, I stay in Welcome Bay. I am married, one wife only, so sadly out there. No, just joking. Welcome Bay is in Tauranga, that's on the North Island. It's about 2.5 hours all the way from Auckland. We're quite central. We form a type of a triangle with Hamilton and Auckland. So if you take the triangle, I think 2/3 of everybody in the country is living in this triangle or something like that. I've heard the other day. It's quite a lot of people just living in this triangle, but it's quite a big triangle. So if you take Hamilton, has got about, I think, 450,000 people. Tauranga's got about 140,000, and then Auckland's got over 1 million. So yeah, that's a heck of a lot of people living in this triangle, and it's quite busy down here. Tauranga is quite expensive on housing. It's becoming the same as Auckland, not totally up there, but about 30 to 40% less than Auckland. So yep, we have our first $1 million Wendy houses, as I call them. It's because all these houses are built from wood. So we've got $1 million Wendy house here. It is a norm here, and then they also call Tauranga $10 Tauranga because people are a bit reluctant to pay for stuff here. Why that has happened, I don't know. I see Tanya from Wyk is asking what websites can you look for car prices on NZ. A good website in New Zealand for about a heck of a lot of things is TradeMe. Go and register yourself on TradeMe. I know TradeMe do ask for an address. Go into the chart somewhere, look for somebody's address, put that in, and use that as your TradeMe address. That's what I did from South Africa. A lot of the car dealers do advertise on TradeMe, and all the homes normally gets advertised on TradeMe. TradeMe is just one of those things. You can even do a whole CV for yourself like that. If you are applying for a home, you can do the whole thing, stating everything. So every time you apply for the home, you just click, and that pre-populates your application, because you also apply for this home on TradeMe. Let me quickly go back to that. Once you see a house being advertised on TradeMe, you want to go and have a look for that. It's not like in South Africa where you phone the agent and the agent says, okay, let's make a time, and they make a time. In New Zealand, everybody applies for the house first. Okay, and very few agents will take you on or through the house if you haven't applied for the house. So you apply for the house, the agent gets the time to look at that, and then they will give everybody that has applied a time. Let's say tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock we're having open house for you, and this is for 20 minutes. So you arrive there, and 50 other people arrive there, and everybody goes through the home, blah blah blah, rush through the home, see what you can see, get out, and thereafter the agent will take whoever they deem is the best on that list. It could also be that they don't deem you good at all and don't even invite you to go and look at the house. Or sometimes something has happened, you apply for the house but you never hear back from the agent. To phone them is just as useless. They'll just give you one another spiel. I've tried that before. They go from the point that they have the right to view the house or not to have the house viewed. So Dominique Delahan said, can we buy our first house once we have residence? You can do that. You can even buy before you have residence. There's a form that you need to fill in, and that's got to go through to the government. It takes a bit of time, but it can be done. I can also help you on that side. Then Willie Krieger says, Rotorua just as expensive on housing. Willie, I still want to come and visit you there in Rotorua. I think Rotorua is absolutely a stunning place. It's got a bit of a sulfur smell, so if you want to know what hell it's all about, go to Rotorua. But there's so much stuff to do in Rotorua. It's got from the redwoods all the way to the gondolas up and down that mountain, to the Luke little cars that you can drive up and down. Heck of a lot to do in Rotorua. And if you want to see the thermal activity, I think Rotorua is probably the main place to go there. We are nearly at the end of our half an hour. I just want to see the last question here. Do you know the cost of the ferry from South to North Island with your vehicle? I think it's something like $200 or $300. It's quite expensive. I have looked at that, I think in 2016 last, and it's quite expensive. So it's not that cheap, but I think it's a 4 hour or 3.5 hour ride with the ferry. And they reckon if you do the first one in the morning, the 6 o'clock one, they reckon that's spectacular. So just keep that in mind when going there. It's quite expensive, but you can book online. What is the ferry name? Anyway, you can book that ferries online. You can see the prices online there as well. Then Marcus Strydom has asked me, he says he's a bit struggling with the longest place name in New Zealand. He asked me to pronounce this name for you guys. I hope you can see that. I will put this up a bit later. But here we goes. Taumata, Whaka, Tangi, Hanga, Kau, U, Au, U, Tamatia, Turipu, Kakapiki, Mango Horo, Nuku, Pokai, Wenua, Kita, Natahu. That's somewhere down in Hawke's Bay. So, alright, so until next time, guys, that's my cue. I'm going to love you and leave you. Stay safe in South Africa. My name is Viljoen. I'm a financial advisor in Tauranga. See you all. Stay good.